Things just got very interesting between the New York Knicks and their rivals, the Philadelphia 76ers. And also, an NBA anonymous scout has called out the New York Knicks, and we're going to break it all down. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video, as we always do, starting with the fact that an NBA scout recently shaded the Knicks. Now, every year, ESPN kind of does a breakdown from a bunch of NBA front office members and kind of asks what the big moves were that happened in the offseason, and in regards to those, what teams had the best offseason, what team had the worst, what team had a shocking offseason, what surprised you the most, what move was the best, all that stuff. So, for instance, when it comes to the Knicks, Mikal Bridges coming to the team, or the Knicks, I guess, signing Cameron Payne, or losing Isaiah Hartenstein, and then the 76ers bringing in the multitude of players that they brought in, and KCP going to the Magic. You guys get the point. Now, an anonymous scout actually said something pretty surprising, and it was kind of some shade towards the New York Knicks. Now, according to this scout, he said according to Tim Bontemps, surprisingly, an East scout said the Knicks had the league's worst offseason, pointing to a combination of losing Isaiah Hartenstein, giving a near max deal to OG Anunoby, and paying a heavy price to land Mikal Bridges from the Nets, saying, "I'm not convinced they'll be better this year." Now, I don't agree with that at all, and we're going to get into that in a second. But when you look at OG's numbers, it is something that's very interesting to see because, yes, this is not someone who it seems like typically you would give a max contract to, but also you're disregarding his defense. You're disregarding how good the New York Knicks are when OG Anunoby is on the court for the team. I mean, the fact is they're 20-3 with him. They're 6-3 in the games that OG's played in the playoffs, counting the game he played 5 minutes in Game 7 between the Knicks and the Pacers, a game the Knicks lost, that they probably would have won had OG been healthy. They probably wouldn't have even been to a Game 7, honestly. So you have to consider all of that. I think that NBA scout is kind of bugging. But we're also going to jump in and kind of take a look at all the different things that were said, because a lot of them involved the Knicks, who had a very active offseason, while it was pretty quiet for most teams, I'd say. Now, if we start right here, the Knicks also got the second most votes for the best offseason behind Philadelphia, which I think is fair. The 76ers had an actively good offseason. I think easily their worst move was signing Paul George, which we'll get into, because he is the latter half of this video at the end of the day also. But then you also have to take into effect that the worst move of the NBA offseason, when you look at some of these, some people agree with me that the Paul George move wasn't good. I don't understand why they're so anti-Sacramento and DeRozan, but this is Knicks Digest. Isaiah Hartenstein signing with the Thunder was 1 vote, and I think that's kind of wild. And Mikal got 2 votes there, so also a bit of shade to the New York Knicks there. And now, I understand a lot of this, and the fact is, I think the OG Anunoby price should be higher than the Mikal one in a way, because I understand they gave a lot of picks for Mikal Bridges, but at the end of the day, I'd be more worried about the contract that they gave OG Anunoby. Something I'm not worried about, though. This is OG Anunoby's contract. Here, I'll make it a little bigger. When you look at Anunoby's contract, yes, it's a lot of money. It's reminiscent of what the 76ers did with Tobias Harris, except OG Anunoby is such a plus player efficiency-wise. Since he came to the Knicks, I mean, he had that unreal plus-minus. OG Anunoby just translates to the New York Knicks winning games. I'm willing to pay that much for the New York Knicks to win games in an era where we are seeing role players getting paid this much very often. By the time this contract is coming to the end, the money that he'll be making, which is nearly $50 million, it won't look as bad when it's compared to the money that some other guys are making in the NBA around that time. Because that's the thing. The salary cap is going to continue to grow, and it's going to get a huge jump soon. So this contract is not going to be as bad in a year from now. And I don't think it's bad now. You're paying for a guy who translates to your team's success. I'm willing to take this bet on him. My biggest fear is OG's injuries. I'm fine if he only puts up 15 points a game. I'm fine if he puts up 13 points a game. They have a bunch of good scoring out there anyway. So I'm not too concerned about that. But then also, if you take a look here, this is the most shocking thing of the offseason, which is Mikal Bridges and then Paul George leaving LA and then the Giddey trade right after that. So people do believe that the Knicks surprised a lot. A lot of people were just surprised by what happened with the Knicks because they went out there and they spent a lot on two guys who are perceived as role players, which is kind of the hate that the Knicks are getting. Now, this is Paul George's contract. It's way more expensive than OG Anunoby's, and in the final year of it, in a player option that you better believe he's going to accept, Paul George will be 37 years old, making nearly $60 million. How is OG's contract worse? I get Paul George is a better player, but, you know, not in the playoffs. He's not very good there. So he's also injury prone and older. So I don't see why people are like, well, OG's contract is really terrible, and then they don't feel that way about Paul George's. To me, that just doesn't make a ton of sense. Now, as I mentioned, the Knicks were kind of mentioned in some other things here. I did say this already. The Knicks are 20-3 with OG Anunoby all time. I wish he played more games. But these are moves that I think people thought were just kind of the best move of the offseason. How is Brunson third? He took a $113 million pay cut. Paul George is getting paid more money than Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is considerably better than Paul George. I don't understand that one bit. So I think people are still underlooking the Knicks a lot. Also, the KCP to the Magic should have gotten way more votes. That was a phenomenal signing. Shout out to people noticing Rob Dillingham also, or one person. Now, I'm really thrilled with all this. I think the Knicks made good moves. And by all this, I do mean the New York Knicks and the moves they made. I think they're a contender. Clearly, other people don't agree, so the Knicks just have to do what they do and continue to prove people wrong. Now, also, something else that we have to talk about is the fact that Paul George kind of reignited the rivalry that the Knicks have with him a little bit. Obviously, the Knicks are on no shortage of a rivalry with the Philadelphia 76ers, but Paul George 10 years ago was public enemy number one. Now he's back in the Eastern Conference for the first time since he was on the Pacers 500 years ago, and now he's on Philly in the Knicks division. There's beef there. I am so excited. Paul George did a great job just reigniting the rivalry in full force. Let's take a look at this because it's not there right now. This is OG stats. There we go. Struggled a little bit, but we got there. New York is an iconic place to play, said Paul George. I miss being there twice a year within a season, so that alone is enough to get you excited about what's going to come. I'm just looking forward to those battles. Also talking about the Celtics on top of the Knicks. I'm just looking forward to those battles. The West is getting crazy. There's so much parity out there. The East is different. It's going to be a different battle. It's a different gameplay. I feel like out East than it is out West. So then, I don't really know what that means. So just trying to establish our dominance amongst two other dominant teams within the division, let alone the conference. So I'm just looking forward to that. So Paul George, not really throwing shade, more just reigniting the rivalry. And this fits in with what Embiid said the other day, saying on the Olympics when he got booed, I don't think it should be anything, but if it's more than that, I embrace it. I don't think you can get worse than playing in New York in the playoffs. So the 76ers, two of their three stars, not counting Tyrese Maxey, have really mentioned the Knicks recently, and it's with a lot of respect. Clearly, these teams respect each other, but there's also that animosity. You know when they get on the court, all they want to do is start throwing haymakers, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting rivalries, kind of a three-way rivalry in the same division between the three best teams in the Eastern Conference in the Celtics, Knicks, and 76ers. I cannot wait for this season. I'm so excited to see these three teams really slug it out with each other. Shout out to Paul George for reigniting the rivalry. I'm excited. I do think the Knicks will get the better of Philadelphia, but obviously I'm biased. I want to know what you guys think. Was that scout right? Are you worried about the Knicks offseason? Also, the Hartenstein thing, I'm not too worried about their backup center position. I get Hartenstein's great. I get he's a phenomenal backup center. Let's remember Embiid played him off the court. Let's just remember that. Outside of that, Hartenstein, arguably a top 10 center in the NBA. I'm not going to try to shade the guy just because he left the Knicks for more money. He did what he should do. But, guys, I want to hear from you, so let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Make sure to tune into the live stream that's going to happen very soon. So make sure you're tuned into that. Have a great day, guys. Go Knicks.